I'm 21 years old. I have a baby on the way in
Congratulations.
July.
When's it due?
July 14th.
Awesome,
very
man.
excited.
Good for you.
Thank you. I have my own business in pet care. I'm a dog trainer, and I am $300,000 in debt.
From what?
So my question is, do I focus on expanding the business, hiring, and trying to be able to make the business self-running so I could be as present of a dad as possible, or focus on paying off debts?
Is the debt?
The only thing this guy needs to be expanding is his W-2. Now, when he chose to get more than $250,000 in debt and have a baby on top of it, I believe, short of independent wealth, and he clearly is not independently wealthy, he gave up the right to be able to spend more time with the child. I mean, it's a toss-up, and I know there are people out there going to go, yes, but it's his child, and you sacrifice everything. Yes, but these things should probably be discussed before you have the kid. Hey, honey, and he's 23. Hey, honey, should we get $300,000 in debt, and I can also spend more time with the beloved child? Or do you think perhaps that maybe self-employment in a woofy doggy care business is not a good idea, and we should perhaps scratch that idea and figure out how I can become a stay-at-home parent, or whatever it is that he wants to do? In other words, there comes a financial point where if you did not plan ahead to be able to stay at home, or whatever the arrangement is that you want to have when you have your kids, you may have given up that right. I'm not saying parenting's not important, all that. I get it. Okay? But how many of us, I'm not a parent, I admit, but still, how many parents have to go to work because the bills must be paid, and they're not anywhere near in the debt this guy is? You see, he's living in Delulu land because he's, like I said, $250,000 in debt. And he is seriously asking himself if he should work on expanding a business that is clearly failing, or should he plan on more time with the child at home. This probably should have been thought, perhaps before the child came.
Debt? Business debt? Is it from you building this business? Is that where it came from?
Yes, that's where it came from, most of it.
Explain, is it?
Why does it take $300,000 to train a dog?
Yeah.
It takes $300,000 to train a dog because you have no experience in dog training. And it's the dream that you have. Oh, and we know about dreams, right? Right, family? We know about dreams. You got to know when to give it up. Doesn't mean you can't modify the dream. It doesn't even mean you can't have the dream. It just may mean that today. Something tells me he is somewhat impulsive. Only because, I'm not just saying that it's his youth, but it's certainly a credit. But more so, it's the $300,000 in debt. Imagine, you're out of high school. 21, within 4 or 5 years out of high school, you have this type of debt. In other words, he's at the age still, from what I can tell, that he is responding to things emotionally, things that he emotionally enjoys, wants, and all of that stuff. But he's not yet at the part where he's thinking logically. Anybody want a baby with a $300,000 business debt? Now the good thing is it's business debt, because he can go bankrupt on it if he has to. So then you got the bankruptcy, and then you got, baby on top of it. Oh, I'm gone for 1 week, and this is what happens.
So we started mobile. So I started the business when I was 19, doing it mobile, kept costs low, did it out of my truck. And then as we expanded, we decided that we needed a facility. So we rented and then kind of renovated a 4,000 square foot facility. That was in April of last year.
Why do you need a 4,000 square foot facility? You're barely 20 years old. He was running it out of his truck. Okay, kudos to that. Go wash Fifi and Fluffy, okay? And let them, work out of the truck, okay? Go wash, groom, mobile truck business. He had actually no business, pun intended, he had no business buying a 4,000 square foot building. Not with 300,000 in debt. Like I said, he's running off of his dream. He's not running off of logic.
So we I took a home equity line of credit loan from my dad, which I know now from listening to you guys is a no-no.
I'm gone for 1 week off the computer deck. Car chats are done, folks. Sorry, but car chats are done. Oh, jeez. 1 week off the computer deck. And this, there were so many delicious titles. It was a tough one, but you know what I think of self-employment? Why I don't want to be with self-employed. I love you, self-employed people, for your creativity and all of that, but sometimes you don't know when to quit. And sometimes we have to know when to quit. Oh, jeez. Home equity line of credit.
Give me a quick synopsis. If I bring my dog to you and say, I'm dropping my dog off, train him, what does it cost me? What do you cost for a service? I'm just curious.
Our lowest package is $33.75, and our most expensive package is $8,000.
Okay.
And these are house pets. They're not service animals or anything.
Some are service dogs, some are...
Wait, I'm totally confused. It's dog training. Okay, I'm a little slow on this, folks. Okay, it's dog training. $300,000 of that for my dog training business. Okay. Wow. So that's why you needed $4,000. You know what I would have done? I would have trained them right at the owner's place. Yeah. Or if I had a place, convert your place into a licensed, dog training. This kid had no reason to be buying a 4,000 square foot business, and I'm willing to bet that whoever lent him the money was just licking their chops, or whoever. It doesn't sound like he sold a business. He started because he's an entrepreneur. So, yeah, he looked and said, "Honey," he says, "there's 4,000 square feet. We're gonna buy it, and then we're gonna have a baby on top of it all. And I'm gonna rack us up more than $250,000 in debt. Wonder what the interest is. And don't forget, he took out a HELOC. Ooh, which made me just think, oh, he's put his property up for this because it's a HELOC. He's backed it up with property. Oh, gee, so bankruptcy isn't necessarily as easy. They'll just take the property. Bad, Fido. Bad.
Our protection dogs, we work with a large range.
You're doing protection dogs for $8,000.
Wow.
That's
And he's only 23. Where'd he get all the knowledge and experience on this? I'm not saying it's not possible.
slow. Okay. All right. Now, so you spent money renovating someone else's building that you rent?
Yeah, so we did like walking kennels. We had to put in.
But you don't own the building.
Walls. No, it's a rental.
Oh!
Okay, so where's the three? You spent $300,000 on someone else's building? I only recommend term life insurance because it's simple.
I'm going to do y'all a favor, and we are skipping over the Xander ads, okay? Yes. All right, here we go.
You spent $300,000 on someone else's building?
So the home equity line of credit, the total of it was $225,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then we used some of that to do employee salaries when we first moved in. We had a lot of that for renovations.
Whose home is he doing this on? So he's renting a building, and he's fixing it all up. He doesn't own it. And then I thought he said something about his dad. Did he bring? Okay, I know. See, like I said, I've been gone for a week, and I feel like I'm losing it. Did he take out a HELOC against a parent's property? Oh, sweet Jesus! Don't tell me he did that. Okay, Jamie, get your listening ears on.
And then also into marketing. Then we have $30,000 for a van that we use.
So are you profitable?
No.
Yeah, so last year we did $300,000 in sales. $40,000 of that was profit for our first year.
Oh, dear God. Now, I listened to this with you guys for the first time. Okay. Yes. But technically, according to the IRS, he is profitable. Okay. You have to show a profit after so many years or whatever. But you gotta love the naivety. He just sounds so confident. Well, are you profitable? Oh, yes, we are. We what is it? Is it called revenue? Guys, I'm not really great at business terms, okay? So 300,000 was everything, I guess. I think that's called revenue. Somebody tell me if that's called revenue, okay? I think that's everything, but his profit is 40,000. He made less than a beginning teacher here in the state of Florida. And it only cost him $300,000 to do it. And probably a whole lot of stress and sleepless nights. And it's only just beginning. Because this HELOC he says that he took, again, I hope they go back to the HELOC thing because I'm not playing it over again. But I want to know how they got the HELOC. They don't own the property. So you take out his dad's HELOC? In other words, if he were to fold on the business, if I'm understanding, okay? Sometimes I'm a little slow, all right? If I'm understanding, whoever he took the HELOC with, or whoever lent him the HELOC or whatnot, their property is at risk because that would be a co-signing case or something like that. Oh my goodness, this is too much. This is too much.
Wow. What's all the overhead coming? Well,
So our total overhead per month is $17,000.
Okay.
Sweet. Oh. Ugh. Guys, I don't know much about pets, okay? I don't. But it just seems, okay, like Dave was saying earlier, if you're doing guard dogs, when I think of guard dogs, I'm thinking double digits. You know, you want to train a dog to be a guard dog. Okay, I'm not thinking no 8,000. I'm thinking maybe 8,000 or a few thousand, to train, puppy around the house or whatever, okay? But if he's talking guard dog, okay, and I'm not talking the innocent doggies that get stuck on a fence outside all day, which I just detest that, okay? I've owned a Chihuahua and a Min Pin, all right? Till they passed away and whatnot, okay? But, the Min Pin went with the ex-husband, but the Chihuahua we kept until that Chihuahua passed away. But this kid has no idea what he's doing. He's just literally throwing out, what is he? He's throwing out cards and just seeing where they land. He doesn't have a plan.
And so what's your question, hon?
So do I focus on expanding the business?
No.
No, you focus on a W-2, get a job, close up shop. That's what you're focusing on. You got a baby coming. This is the type of stuff you do. I think he said he's married. I think he said he was, okay? Wife, girlfriend, side chick, whatever, okay? The woman you're having the baby with. I think he said wife, all right? It's a W-2 job. This is the type of stuff you do and you get out of your system before you have a baby, whether you file bankrupt or not. This is not the stuff you do when you have a child.
Hiring, no, okay.
No.
You need to make some money with all this money you've spent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you hear that? Mm-hmm. You need to, no. It should have been, you are more than $250,000 in debt and you need to get out there and you need to earn some cold, hard cash. And then what does the guy do? Mm-hmm. You know why he went, mm-hmm? You know why? Because he already knows it. He just doesn't want to do it. Yeah. See, when you get answers like, mm-hmm, yeah, okay. And we've heard answers like that before, haven't we, family? We've heard people answer that. You know what they're really saying? That's their polite way of saying, I hear you, I disagree with you, and I ain't going to do it.
Like, you need to double your revenues with your existing facilities and your stupid $30,000 van that you did not need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You
Okay.
you have never seen anything you wanted that you didn't go buy it. Stop it.
That's what I'm saying. He's throwing out all these cards. He is building this business on the lap of luxury and pleasures. He's not thinking like a business person. The business needs to fold. If he wants to take care of Fifi and Fido, I would say he needs to get a whole lot more experience under belt in running a business. See, this is why I choose not to be involved with people who are self-employed. A little side hustle, I don't care about. Someone says they got a little side hustle that brings in extra $5,000. I don't care about that as long as it's not draining our funding and you can hold a full-time job, so to speak. But if it's, hey, I'm giving everything up and I'm going to take us $250,000 in debt so I can do it, count me out.
You're going to run yourself out of business so fast it's unbelievable. You need to learn to organically grow the business. Ramsey Solutions has grown from a card table in my living room to a $300 million business, and we've never borrowed a dime. 100% of our growth has been funded by profits. A little bit, and 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 a little bit. And so now you've invested leasehold improvements in someone else's building. What's the length of the lease you have?
It's 5 years.
At the end.
Holy cow! You know, this is one of those calls where you think it can't get any worse. It can. It can get worse. 5 years. And remember I was saying, well, he could just file bankruptcy. Yeah, he could, but I'm not sure it's going to be as easy as that. I don't know. I don't know if he could file Chapter 7. He might have to go in Chapter 13. I don't see how this is sustainable. And baby's not even here yet either. And this is the guy who wants to, spend more time at home with the child. I get it. But he may have sacrificed that opportunity to do this.
End of 5 years, all that money's gone if that guy wants you out.
Okay, and let's get real. Let's say, because we know the economy's kind of tanking here right now. Let's say in 5 years, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. So let's say he gets and I'm bad at math, so we're going to keep this real simple. Let's say he's able to make $50,000 a year over the next 5 years. Okay, so that's 100, 200. I count on my fingers. 100, 200. Okay, so that's about 250,000. All right, but it's costing him 300,000. He said to make in a year's, what is it? I think it's revenue. Okay, his total amount is 300,000. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. It's only going to cost him a little over $1 million to make $250,000. I hope that math all added up. Okay, I think that made sense. I'm just going, he made $40,000 and it took him $300,000 to do it. And things only go up. Inflation, it only goes up. That's why it's called inflation. So in 5 years, if he's able to maintain this $300,000, cost, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, right? It's one little over $1 million, $1.5 million, right around there. To make how much? 200,000 or so? That's a bad return on your money.
You've got to amortize all of that cost in 5 years on $40K profit. You can't even come close.
Did you know that? Did you realize that? Or you just didn't care? I'm just curious.
He didn't care. He didn't care.
Realize which part?
The part that you're leasing and that you don't own the building. So when your lease is up, there's no guarantee that you get to stay there with all the renovations you've made.
Oh, and all the renovations he's made. I sure hope that there isn't a thing in the contract that says he has to put it all back to what it was. Because you have to be careful about that. Okay, I've lived in apartments that have said, yeah, you can go ahead and change it, but you are required to put it all back. All of a sudden, the renovation ideas just don't sound so good. And why would you renovate something that you don't get to keep? And assuming that this doggy place has to meet code and whatnot, there was quite a bit of work into it. This guy didn't think about this. But there could be a requirement that he has to put it structurally back to what it was, or whatever the agreement is.
So what I figured while going through the process of it, I believe that the total cost of renovations alone that we did was between 50 and 65,000. But the goal was to then extend our lease once that 5 years was up.
Yeah,
He's got no money, dude. Who is this? Sal in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hold my orange juice. You got no money. All this guy is doing is talking about renovating and being able to stay at home with the child. That's it. He needs to be thinking in terms of money, cold, hard cash. He's so far ahead of himself that he's going to sink himself. I personally think he's already sunk himself.
Goal, that's a wish. That's a hope. It's not how you run a business. Okay. So what you, as a young entrepreneur, what I would have you to do is I want you to concentrate on getting revenues up without spending any more money.
He doesn't have the skill to do that, Dave. He does not have that skill. He's going to need somebody to help him with that skill. And from what I can tell, he owes everybody under the sun.
Would that include
stop quote, expanding. Work.
How many employees do you have?
Okay. It's just me. I work completely by myself.
I thought you said you spent some of this on salaries. Where the heck did
Yep,
the
in the
200
beginning.
grand go? All I got's 30 in improvements or 40 in improvements and a $30,000 van. Where'd the rest of it go?
You paid yourself out of the loan?
No, I didn't pay myself out of the loan. We had employees. We had up to 3 at one point. But then in October, we got pretty slow, so I let everyone go, went down.
This is a train wreck. Just an absolute train wreck.
To just me working, and then
okay, you have a $40,000 a year job that you own.
He could. McDonald's store managers can make more. See, to me, this is a classic case of, work smarter, not harder. This is about as difficult of a way, I think, as you can bring on to make $40,000. He is making less than what middle school teachers are making. A beginning school teacher in Florida makes more than this.
So your job is to make it an $80,000 a year job that you own, and then a $100,000 a year job that you own. You need to find out the most profitable areas of your business and grow those areas, and yes, you need to do it. As far as
he doesn't have the business knowledge. I make notes when I'm taking for editing purposes, because Susan knows, a viewer knows how much I hate editing. Thumbs up, Susan. Yeah. He doesn't have the knowledge and the skill. And you know what? A part of me doesn't even think he has the desire. And like I said, it's because look how fast he's jumped into everything. This is like jumping in off the diving board into a pool with no water. So this is, I think it would take someone who is more mature. Maturity, I think, is part of it here, okay? It would take someone with a lot more maturity and the willingness to listen to really figure out what's going on here. And something just tells me that Sal is not in this stage yet. And it's not just because he's young, okay? It certainly contributes to it. But you could be older, and we've heard plenty of older people, right, on this show, and they're not quite ready to listen. And when, they hang up the phone, they ain't going to sell that car. They're not going to downsize that house. They're not going to either downsize the business, close the business, okay? Or even leave the person that's bringing them down financially and keeps doing it over and over again, and they just keep sticking around for it. So this Sal here is just not in the mental stage, mental capacity. In other words, life hasn't smacked him hard enough yet. Because if you think about it, he's managed to get this far all on debt.
As far as you being at home with the baby, fathers, since time has begun, have gotten up and gone to work, and babies have survived. And you're going to work, my son. You have $300,000 in debt. You've made a mess, and you need a shovel. And you is the shovel.
Mm-hmm.
And where there is no shovel, there's a pooper scooper. And he can always pick up the pooper scooper and shovel that way.
My question for you is, should I sell my rental property to pay off my student loan debt?
Wow. How much student loan debt you got?
A lot, $338,000.
That is a lot. Are you a doctor or a lawyer?
Lawyer.
Okay. And
Well, finally, we have a lawyer, but she sounds like she's a broke lawyer.
what's your income?
So excluding like the rental property, it's around 95 to 100,000.
How long have you been out of law
with
school?
my bonuses. Since 2019.
Okay. When are you going to start making some more money with your law degree?
I know. Yeah, I guess that's a problem.
You spent a lot of
Later than
money
later?
on a law degree because you could make a lot of money, and now you're not making a lot of money.
Right.
Diesel mechanics make more than you.
Yeah.
And a middle school teacher who's, what is it? The last 2 years I've grossed 70,000. So assuming that her 95,000 is gross, okay, a middle school teacher makes, 25,000 less than you. That's a middle school teacher. And her tone, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be taking this situation very seriously. And for a lawyer, Just listening to her, I would not want her as my lawyer with all the, whenever I hear the hee ha, giggles and all that, it tells me that they are lacking seriousness. I mean, I understand that some people use, laughter to deal with stressful situations. I understand that. But she graduated in 2019. So we're talking 6-7 years later. And it's like, yeah, I guess that is kind of a problem. This tells me she hasn't taken it too seriously. Would you hire her?
So what are you going to do to get your career going, kiddo?
Change jobs. Let's start there, I guess.
Okay. All right. And what's the rental property worth?
The rental property is funny. It's worth the same amount as my debt, $338,000. That's the current.
And is it paid for?
Value. No, I wish.
Okay. So.
Okay. So this lady has wished for a lot of things. I can tell you this right off the bat, just listening to her. She's the type of person that's going to say, yeah, I wish, but she's never actually going to do anything. She needs to sell the rental property. I can tell you that right now. I'm going to beat Dave to saying that. She needs to sell the rental property. It's, when you are that far in debt, what's the use of keeping that? It's costing you debt. She needs to get rid of the rental property. She probably needs to get a much more serious head on her shoulders. She doesn't sound like she's ready to be a lawyer. It almost sounds like she did lawyering as a hobby. And now that the hobby is done. If somebody said to me, okay, so like I said, I gross 70,000. If someone said to me, okay, Carrie, we'll bump you to 100,000. You're going to give me a $30,000 pay raise, gross, okay? And said to me, hey, we'll give you 100,000 a year, but on the same time, we're going to hand you 330,000 or so debt. No, I would not accept it, because there is at some point where the debt becomes so ridiculous that the money that you would be giving me wouldn't even come close to paying off the debt. She has the money to pay off the debt. Let's make this clear. She does have it. She just doesn't want to spend it to pay off the debt. And she carries a lot of immaturity. This type of lawyer you can get if you're not careful, family.
Won't pay off the student loan debt. How much do you owe on it?
$176,000.
Okay. So you get $100,000, $150,000 out of it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about the rental property.
That'll definitely help. Instead of you being in debt for 10 years, we can speed this process up by selling this rental property. You got any savings? Anything else you could sell?
Wait, debt in 10 years. She's had the debt for 7 years already. And she's not serious about paying it off. So no, she's not this is going to go well past the 10-year mark.
So I currently have a storage unit with some stuff in it that I've been trying to sell all of that stuff out. So I can.
And you're paying for the storage unit.
Yeah.
So let's free up money every nook and cranny in your budget, and we're going to get you on a budget, because that's going to be the real path out of here, regardless of what happens. Getting your income up, getting your expenses down. But I'd love to see you debt free in under 2 years. You think you could do that?
It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen, George, with all due respect. You just listen to the way she talks on the phone. Does she sound like a lawyer to you? She doesn't sound like one to me. She sounds like almost she almost sounds kid-like. Like I said, I wouldn't want her being my lawyer. She has not taken life seriously, at least to this point, and she still hasn't taken it seriously.
That if you got intense?
Oh, for sure. Especially if I sold the property. I've been torn between selling it and moving into it. And so I just...
Where are you living in?
Currently, I live with my parents, but I was about to...
Yeah, I don't want her as my lawyer. Sorry. Not because she's living with her parents per se, but just the immaturity now.
To start renting.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's fine. That's fine.
Renting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I believe I would. Now, I was one of the first in my family to get a formal education. Are you?
I am. Well, yeah.
Okay.
I am.
Let me ask you if this is true, and it's okay if it's not. You please tell me the truth, okay? I'm not forcing this on you, because there's a lot of symptoms in this conversation that make me think this, and I'm not sure if I'm right. Okay, so you can.
Me think she's very immature. She hasn't really pursued law. Think about it. She's making $95,000. She lives at home. I'm assuming her parents are paying the bills. In other words, I'm willing to bet that most of her income has gone to just basically fund a dream lifestyle for herself without ever tackling the $250,000 plus debt she has. Really put the spin on it when you say $250,000. She has more than that. She's living at home. So what has she been doing with all of her money?
You can correct me. But did you kind of have the idea, like I did, that we were sold, if you go get a law degree, they're just going to start sending you big checks. It's going to be like easy.
Yep. I probably said I wanted to be a lawyer as a kid.
Yeah, you worked your tail off and were really, really focused till you passed the bar, and you thought at that point this was going to get easy.
Yes. And
a college degree without the maturity to back it up, you might as well have never gotten the degree. And if you're going to be a lawyer, in my opinion, and I'm no lawyer, okay, you have to convince people as to why they should hire you. How are you going to protect me, defend me? And I don't care if we're talking about escrow and contracts and stuff like that, or if we're going all the way to, Capital One murder, okay? I mean, to get a degree without the ability to back it up in maturity, it's more than just academic knowledge. And I think, what's her name here? What is it? Is it Ashley in Atlanta, Georgia? Why does everything happen in Atlanta?
It definitely did not.
And it didn't.
It was the opposite.
And you fell backward into a half-butt lawyer job.
Yes.
Instead of.
Yes, because I'm sorry, Dave, but I'm gonna pause Dave here for a minute, okay? Here's the thing. She has not clearly had a model of what to do after you get the degree. So and I understand people keep saying, but we've been told to go get a job. All right, folks, at some point we got to get off that bandwagon of we were told. Okay, she's had the degree for 7 years. So she is clearly Gen Z. I can understand with the millennials saying it. She ain't no millennial. I could be wrong. I leave room to backtrack on that based on her age. Okay. But here's the bottom line. She got the degree 7 years ago. She graduated. So let's say took her 3-4 years to do that. So that'd be 10 years ago. We're at the slippery slope where we got to quit saying, but we were just told to go to school. Now I understand she's first generation. So we got to give some room there. Okay. She's had no one to model for her the professionalism of what do you do with this degree after you get it. It's like me having my teaching degree and then going, okay, and I expect a district just to kind of, show up on my doorstep and give me a job. It's never that easy. And I'm willing to bet that as she's gotten frustrated in trying to find the job, she has started procrastinating, which is also not a good skill for a lawyer or not a good habit for a lawyer to have. So she's basically started procrastinating and probably moved into her mom's house initially, mom and dad's house, going, oh, this is just going to be a short time while I go to law school, or after law school, and I'm going to find a job. But did she have the discipline to get the job? Remember what I've told you, and I've said it on this channel before, okay? It's one thing to chase the degree because that brings a certain thrill. It does, a certain challenge, a certain goal, you're going to conquer it. But it's a whole different picture when it's time to pay off the bill and get the job. All of a sudden, it's like womp, womp, womp. Okay, unless you are really disciplined, you're never going to get it. And the thrill of paying off the debt, the thrill of running up the debt is totally opposite. It drops precipitously when it comes to paying off that debt. So it's easy to run up the debt and say, yeah, this is my dream. Look at me, cap and gown, yada, yada. But okay, great. Everybody's taking their pictures with you and everybody's proud. And you've gone and had your salmon, steak, crab, whatever, dinner. Okay. But now, just like raising a child and the shower is done and all of that stuff, you're either going to be standing in line at family court figuring out, who's going to pay child support, or you're going to figure out how to make it work. She never figured out how to make this degree work for her. And the scary part is the longer amount of time she is away from her degree with no real experience. I mean, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I would imagine the more years you're away from, really professional work, the harder it is to get into it. So part of this is just not her fault in the sense of it's what she's resembling what she's been modeled around. This is what she's seeing. Okay, yeah, she's great. You can brag and say you're first in your family to go to college, but what are you going to do after that? Like I said, she's more than $250,000 in debt and makes about 25,000 more a year than I do as a middle school teacher.
A really, really good one making 200.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
What kind of law are you doing? Is it the specific niche that you're in that's not making
yes,
good money?
I would say it's the specific niche. It's real estate law.
Yeah. So here's what
I'm going to assume that real estate law probably doesn't pay. I could be wrong. I'm going to assume, based on her pay, it doesn't pay anywhere near, say, criminal law, corporate, stuff like that. It's almost, what is that we saw? We did a show not too long ago here, family, and a lady was a lawyer, and she was like a contract lawyer. Okay, probably run-of-the-mill stuff if you're not really careful.
Pointing to, and I lived through this, and I know a whole bunch of other people that have lived through the same thing. Now that you have discovered that the education is not the cause of your success, instead you are going to be the cause of your success, that should give you some new energy to go kill some things and drag them home. So go get an apartment, sell this condo, clean out this storage shed, get your butt in gear, and go make you some money.
It's not going to be this easy. She's had 7 years of living her budget based on her parents' lifestyle. She's not a go-getter. I remember what she was saying at the beginning when he was like, wow, you need to make more money, kind of what's the problem? She's like, yeah, kind of. Or something to that extent. I'm not good at, quoting exactly at 9 p.m. after a long day work, okay, on this Monday here. But basically, if people had that go get them attitude, they wouldn't have to call into the show. Part of what they're lacking, and some people would say, well, she just lacks, direction. Okay, that's true. But I genuinely believe 7 years out of law, and she really doesn't seem to take life too seriously. As much as I respect the Ramsey show, we know I do love it. I'm not sure a show is going to make her a go-getter, especially, and I will say this gently, if she's around people who are not go-getters themselves. In other words, it takes a certain type of person to be first in college, perhaps most likely surrounded by people who are not go-getting oriented, and that does not mean you have to have a college degree to be a go-getter. So let's make that clear, okay? But in her case, this is what we're talking about. She's around lawyers and all this stuff, supposedly, okay? If she's not around other law people with this go-get-them attitude, I really don't think she's gonna tell mom and dad, all right, after 7 years, I'm up, I'm out, I'm gonna go get them and get a $200,000 a year job. Especially in this economy.
Because the cavalry's not coming. It's not going to get easy. You're the secret sauce to the success, not the degree. The degree, as you have discovered and I have discovered, is not magical.
Right.
You see what I'm following? You see what I'm doing?
Yes.
So
yes.
The same incredible determination and sacrifice emotionally and psychologically that you used to go get this degree because it was supposed to be Willy Wonka's golden ticket, I want you to use that same determination that's inside of you to go now be somebody.
Okay.
You follow?
Does she sound like she's ready? I'm sorry, but okay. Does she sound gazelle intense?
Me? Because
yes.
this all looks like you peaked out at graduation and have been sliding ever since. You're living at home, you got a storage unit, you got this rental unit, you're in a substandard, you're not making the money you ought to be making as smart as you are, and I want you to go get rid of every bit of that.
Is she smart? I don't know if she's smart. I have no evidence that she's smart. Now, I do have to say you must have some level of smartness if you get through the bar. So, yeah. But see, there's a difference between book smart and street smart. Navigate the career smart. I don't know how street smart, so to speak, career smart she is. We know she's book smart, and we hear a lot of that on the right. Book smart. And the older I get, the more I'm convinced that there really is a difference between book smart and street smart.
I have to have a really hard conversation with my husband. I have to basically tell him in a loving way that I really don't care what his dreams and aspirations are, that I really just need him to get a better job.
Oh, fantastic. This is incredible. Okay, dig in. I don't care. Like, this is a wife that's at the end of her rope.
She's really resolved. That's all.
I can say she's definitely given this comment a whole lot of thought over the years.
No,
Say, Holly knows.
I love it. This is a wife at the end of her rope. I don't care what your stupid dreams are. I don't care when you think the Avon sales are going to finally come through.
You just need to make money.
Like, we're hungry. So, tell us where you're at.
Okay, so we've been married for 17 years, and we have 5 kids and another on the way.
Oh, wow.
So in other words, they have a quarter of a classroom.
Wow.
First 10 years, he was active duty in the military. That was really, really hard on our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we made choices. He chose to get out because our family is more important and that stability is more important.
I wonder, not saying that he doesn't think his family is important, but I wonder if she dictated to him that he was going to get out. Because just the way she sounds, I'm just going off a few seconds of hearing her voice, and I know I haven't been with her all these years to hear her struggles, yada yada, okay? But why can I just visualize her saying, "You're leaving the military"? And you know darn well they had kids before they left the military, so she was feeling the pressure. She didn't want to deal with it anymore, and about 75% of it was her saying, "You're out of the military," and 25% of it was him saying he was willing to leave, but he was really willing to leave more to placate his wife. I mean, yes, I understand family is important, but you also, you chose to have a lot of kids. You got to feed them.
And we made choices. Like, I gave up my career. I'm a preschool teacher by trade, and gave that up to be with our kids.
Okay, but that was a personal choice to give it up. I get the sense that I'm just giving you my heartfelt, reaction. Her saying, "I gave it up to be with my kids," but you chose to be a mother. You chose to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going on to 6 kids. So is she expecting kudos for that? Congratulations, you gave up your career to have kids. Lots of women and even men can do that. Granted, it's more women than men, but put that aside. She's acting as though she's made this great sacrifice involuntarily. I understand someone who says, "Hey, I chose to give up on relationships so I could take care of my parents who were aged and ill through no fault of their own." I can understand that turmoil and stress. I chose to give up my career because my child got into a devastating accident and is no longer able to live the life that we were hoping. See, I understand that. Those things are involuntary, but her saying, "I chose to give up my career, of being, in education," just happens to be my field, okay? "I chose to give up my career." It's like we're supposed to give her kudos for something that she had total control over. She could have had the kids and the career, perhaps, if she had had less kids.
And
She's just so angry. She just feels so victimized. She just doesn't know where to put it. She did this to herself, and so did her husband.
He's underemployed. He's working
Yeah, what's his situation now, job-wise?
He took a job that guarantees him 30 hours a week as a school bus driver.
He's not even working full-time, and he's got 6 kids to feed. This is a family of 8, counting the one baking in the oven. This is a family of 8 people with the head of the household, so to speak, all right, working 30 hours a week as a bus driver.
He has 2 degrees, so we already did the hard work of getting, like, he...
Wait, did she do the hard work of getting those degrees, or did he get it? Was she the one up studying all night? I'm not saying she didn't contribute to, taking care of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. See, here's what I sense. She loves having babies. She loves it. But she doesn't necessarily love the consequence of having them.
We got those since we've been married.
How is he supporting 5 kids, one on the way with being a bus driver?
It's really hard. He does get some disability, but it's not like complete or anything.
And Holly, is his mindset like he's happy because he has time with the family? It's not that much. I'm not stressed and all of that, or does he feel undervalued at all? Like, is he looking or talking about other things?
He's such a sweetheart. I think he really likes what he does, and he loves working with the people he works with. He's job hopped. He's experienced a lot of job loss.
Perhaps they should have considered this as they continued having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. Perhaps they should have talked about the lifestyle they like. Honey, I think 2 kids is plenty for us. I don't like to stay at a job too long. I don't want to be burdened with a family of 8. This is a family of 8. This is a lot of mouths to feed.
He left the military, and he finally has found a job that he really likes, or the people really seem to appreciate him. But it doesn't make up for the fact that he's underpaid, and we're hustling. We're on baby step 2. We're like really working the debt snowball to the best of our ability. I have been working like 50 hours a week trying to open my own daycare, which didn't go well because of other things.
And that's where the problem is. Oh, sometimes you have to just listen a little longer to see what is the actual problem. The problem is, okay, let's break this down here in simple terms, okay? She wants to have her own business. And we all know on this channel what I think of that. Not so great, all right? When you have debt, you have responsibilities. This is not the time to open your business, Holly, in Portland, Oregon, my hometown, okay? Actually, my hometown's Eugene, but I lived in Portland also. Here's the thing. Holly wanted to open her own business because Holly doesn't really want to get a job. No, Holly doesn't want to have to clock in, be a W-2. Notice what Holly said, okay? She tried to open her own business. It didn't work. And because her home business, self-employment, did not work, now she's extra angry at her husband because the money that he's bringing in isn't working. See, here's the thing. They each want to do what makes them happy. I would have respected Holly more. She said, you know what? I'm hustling it. I'm working 50 hours a week. I'm scraping, gum at the bottom of, tables at Wendy's or McDonald's. Okay. I'm doing all this hustling. And it was actually bringing in money from what I can tell. But Holly seems to like being with kids. And a part of me wonders if she opened up that daycare because she has so many kids that she thought it would make being a housewife. She could be quasi housewife and quasi business person. She says, I've got all these kids, so I might as well open up a daycare. The daycare doesn't work out. Now she's really angry at the husband. But Holly really didn't want a job. Holly is looking to make her life easier. I'm telling you, that's what it is. Holly's upset that Holly's not getting the lifestyle that she thought she was going to get. She and her husband should have discussed this before they had all these kids.
But I've been working and bringing in as much as I can. And
No, you're not. You're trying to be self-employed. Self-employment is a luxury. To be able to pursue self-employment is a luxury. She wants that luxury right now with 6 kids. This was a month ago. Okay, this played a month ago, so respectively, that's April, so March 2025, okay? So this is only 4 weeks ago. She, being self-employed is a luxury. Chasing self-employment when you have what will be 6 kids you are birthing, that's a real luxury. Holly's looking for the easy way out, and her husband's not providing it. And her husband needs to step up more to the plate, too.
So the problem is that all these side hustles brought our income up to the point where we're bringing in almost $10,000 a month. But I'm due soon And most of my students have left because of my pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was an educator.
Which is understandable.
Well, yeah, and you're working so much to make that versus like having a 40-hour week job where you're making 80 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay, but here's the thing. Okay? Side hustling, they brought in 10,000. That's not consistent and steady income. I could go out and say, okay, I'm going to go work 2 full-time jobs. How long can I sustain that? Side hustles are not for long-term way of life sustainment, in my opinion. Side hustles are to get rid of one bill, maybe 2, that you need to get rid of. Side hustles are to fund a vacation you really want to go on. Side hustles are designed to be, to me, they are short-term income growth spurts. Okay? I think 2 years and below. 3 if you really have to stretch it. But to me, side hustle. I'm going to side hustle for 2 years. We're going to get this $10,000 bill paid off or whatever. Okay. Side hustles are not, we have a permanent situation of we have a family of 8 and we need to feed everybody and we keep breeding children into the family. No. Fault to the kids, of course. This isn't a side hustle. This is a way of life. This is a lifestyle that is different from a side hustle. Holly in Portland, Oregon wants a lifestyle that she and her husband cannot afford to chase the dreams. She wanted to be a teacher, I guess, maybe he wanted to be in the military. Maybe he wanted a military career more than she realizes. But Holly wanted her dreams fulfilled. I could just see a woman like her. I could totally see a woman like her saying something like, your job is to these children. It's not to the military. But yet not realizing that all these kids that they want to have, guess what? You probably need a somewhat military style career to get it. It's one avenue. It's obviously not the only avenue. But there are choices that you make. She said he likes to be in and out of jobs a lot. Well, if that's what he likes, then you probably shouldn't try to do that with a family of 8.
how much? But Holly, what I'm hearing underneath everything is how much of this is, and all of these things are real, and they're not inherently bad. I just want to get to the honest pain point here.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, when I'm trying to think of my last title. When I was the Chief Student Affairs Officer, Dean of Students / Associate Provost, I remember what my title was. It was long. I remember my wife, and this is her laughing and joking, but also, like when she was at a dinner party, she sure liked saying my husband is a Dean of Students and a college executive than a YouTuber. Doesn't matter that financially we're better off. Doesn't matter that I'm helping way more people. It was a funny thing, but she's like, yeah, it was cool when I got to say that. So is this...
In other words, having a fancy title even though you're broke. So he makes more money as a YouTuber and writing books than he was dean, provost, whatever. I totally believe it. Academia doesn't pay.
You don't like going to... talking to other moms and saying, well, my husband's a bus driver? Is that number one? Number two, I hear you've entered into comparison world or scorekeeping world, and that's a dangerous place for relationships. I gave up my career. I'm doing this. I'm working so hard, and I'm about to not be able to work hard because I'm creating another human I'm about to give birth to.
And she's creating that totally by choice so she can feel like a victim. Sometimes I think some of these women, not all women, I'm not talking about you, okay, but sometimes I think there are women out there that choose to have kids because subconsciously it keeps them from having to become working adults. In other words, the kids are the reason for them to stay home. I can't work, see? I've got kids to raise. You go do it.
And so is this about you keeping score and saying, hey, you're not as tired at the end of the day as I am? Or is this, I'm looking at a man I love who can give value to the world and we don't have enough for groceries? Like, where's the pain point here? Or maybe it's a cocktail of all of that.
I didn't grow up with money or anything. It doesn't matter to me what he does.
Oh, yes, it does, Holly. Admit it. It matters a lot. It matters more than you think. And whatever it is that he does needs to be something that makes you feel elevated, makes you feel important. I'm telling you, I will put a Thornton's Pepsi on it. Okay, Thornton's is a gas station here in Tampa. I will put a Thornton's Pepsi on it. when she says, we decided that he should quit the military? No, she decided. Listen to her tone. Guys, I've heard hundreds of these calls now. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds from the Ramsey show. Nah, she dictated this. She wants to wear the pants in the family. And now, because he's not doing what she wants, she's feeling victimized.
I don't care about his title.
Okay.
And I've been a stay-at-home mom off and on, and that's what I would prefer to do.
There we go. Case closed. My point has been made. If it pleases the court, I rest my case. Exactly. How'd I know this? How'd I know this? Because I've heard hundreds of these calls. You see, what you get is, it's the secret. It's what is it that they say? Holly's sounding as though she really cares, about the family unit and her husband and yada yada. Not saying she doesn't, but really what Holly cares about is what Holly wants. That's what Holly cares about. Holly wants to be a mom. Can't we tell? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. You almost run out of breath saying it. My aunt and uncle had 5 kids growing up. That was in the 70s and 80s, though, when prices weren't so high. You have 6 kids today? Come on. And you can't afford it? If you can afford it, more power to you. You got the family unit, the structure, and you can have all the children you want. But when you're in this situation, no. And so what did Holly want? Holly wanted to be a teacher. Holly wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Holly's not getting either of those, and probably more so, because Holly made the decision to procreate 6 times over. See? So Holly was being very truthful. I like to be a stay-at-home mom. What mom wouldn't like to be a stay-at-home mom? I mean, I know there are some moms out there like, please, don't make me stay at home with the kids, and all I can do is talk in, goo goo gaga language all day. I get that. But let's put that aside. The majority of women would like to stay at home with their kids. I don't blame them. So would I. It's part of the reason I chose not to have them. Okay? But that's just a personal decision. Neither here nor there. Okay? But this is really about Holly being upset that Holly didn't get out of this marriage what she wanted. And that's why at the beginning of the call, lest the jury forget, she said, I don't care about his dreams. I don't care about what he wants. Because what Holly cares about is what Holly wants.
Okay.
But I'm fine with making sacrifices for our family.
You're supposed to be fine with making sacrifices for the family. You're an adult. You breed them, you feed them, you sacrifice for them. You see, Holly wants to be given the kudos that she feels she is deserving of. And she does not feel recognized for it. I've never understood that. That's like me going to my job saying, well, I'm fine with teaching the kids. Well, of course you're supposed to be fine with teaching them. That's my job. Well, I'm fine with treating the kids nicely. You're supposed to. You're their teacher. I mean, these are things that these are expectations that come with the job. You treat them fairly, you educate them. I mean, but Holly's like, well, I'm fine with making sacrifices for my family. Yeah, you better be, because you're ripe for divorce. Oh, I tell you, family, again, 1 week I'm gone off the computer deck and life is just falling apart.
I'm not asking him to do anything that I haven't done, and I think he's...
See, I sorry for the pauses, okay? Again, you can watch this in the description box uninterrupted, all right? Look, here is the thing. Holly wants kudos because Holly feels she has sacrificed. Lady, you got another kid coming in. You think, you're making sacrifices now? And you want to bet there's going to be a number 7?
He sees what I do and acknowledges it, and is very grateful. I don't think it's a comparison thing for me. I think it's just that I'm scared because we're about to lose
half your income.
That's it.
Half our income.
Yeah.
And
that's where you start.
That's where you should have the discussion before baby 6 comes. You see, this is like taking on student loan debt, like I did, and you don't ask yourself, okay, if I sign on the line now to give up $700 a month of my income when I start working. See, we don't think about that. We just sign on the line. I fell for that too, okay? We just simply sign on the line, get the student loan, and only after the baby arrives, called Sally Mae or Navient, okay, Mohila, only after the baby arrives, then we sit and we panic. We go, oh my God, how am I going to feed the child?
That right there is the most honest statement. Because that's different than you called in saying, and again, I'm with you, not at you, okay? So
John, sometimes we have to be at them. I understand though.
But that's you calling in saying, I have to tell my husband I don't care about his dreams and his whatever. He's got to get another job. That's different than you saying, hey, honey, we're about to face a math problem, and me as a stay-at-home mom of 6, I'm terrified.
But who caused it? They caused it. And here's the bottom line. You know, sometimes people say you speak the truth in your dreams. You speak the truth in your dreams. Well, guess what? She spoke the truth at the beginning of this call. She don't give a rip. She feels like she sacrificed her career for him, so she don't give a rip. She sacrificed the fact that she can't be a stay-at-home mom and live in the lap of luxury and have someone named Guido feeding her grapes with a Great Dane sitting next to her, looking admiringly. I mean, she wants the life of royalty. I'm not saying she literally does, but here's the bottom line. She's unhappy with the way her life has turned out. She's unhappy that she's not living in the lap of luxury like she thought. Or at least if it wasn't the lap of luxury, it was the lap of, I don't want to have to work as hard. She chose to have 6 kids. These are the choices you make.
Well, I tried to have that conversation, and he's like, well, maybe I want to be a teacher, which means he has to go back to school.
She tried to have the conversation with him the same way she probably tried to have the conversation when he left the military. She dictates. This is the type of woman who wants to wear the pants in the family, but lead the guy to think that he's wearing them, but really she is. You know how you walk a dog and the dog thinks it's walking you? No, the dog's not walking you. Not if you're a responsible owner. You're actually walking the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the salary that starting pay for teachers in our state.
Yeah, y'all made, like,
enough.
This sounds awful, but y'all made choices to have create 6 humans. So that means you can't afford to make $42,000.
Exactly. You can't afford to make $42,000 and be at home. You can't. This is a family of 8 that needs 2 working parents to make ends meet. Holly's regretting her decision. She won't say she regrets it, but she regrets it. Now, she doesn't actually regret the kids. It's like people who go get in ridiculous amount of student loan debt. We don't regret the degree. You're rarely, unless it's a fraudulent school, you're rarely going to hear, yeah, my experience at MIT, my experience at Columbia, whatever, okay? Columbia U, whatever. You're not going to hear regret from that because that was the whole reason you went. What you hear the regret in is that the planning wasn't there.
That's the trade.
Yeah.
Or live in Portland, right?
Right. Well, we live outside of Portland in a much cheaper area.
Probably Tigard, Beaverton. It's definitely not Lake Oswego. Lake Oswego is one of the expensive cities in Oregon.
But he thinks we can make up the gaps with the side hustles, which we've been doing.
Yeah, you can't, because like I said before, side hustles are for short-term gap gains.
But y'all aren't going to be able to do side hustles anymore. You're out.
Yeah, and the side hustle world is for a season. It's not ongoing to support a 7-person family.
No, it's an 8-person family. They got 6 kids coming to the lovely Rachel.
And he's up against time. He doesn't have any more hours in the day to do another side hustle. He already has 2 part-time gigs.
But this is what you signed up for. Oh, I'm going to love to hear their retirement plan in about 15 more years. They're going to be the couple of calls and goes, we have nothing. We have nothing saved for retirement. I don't know how old they are. I'm going to put them in their mid to late 30s. Yeah. And then we're going to say, well, what happens? Well, 20 years ago, we had 6 kids. The problem.
Plus his bus driving.
So if I'm you, I would sit down and start with, I want to map this out for the next 6 months. I want us to be honest about the money, not, well, I hope here, and I think I've got a deal here, and I'm trying to build this. We're not at that place right now. I want to be honest about what's coming down the road for 6 months. We need to sit down and make a plan. I'm scared to death. Will you help me with this?
What she really wants to say is, I'm scared because I've got 6, baby number 6 coming, and I'm really nervous and upset and afraid that you can't put me in the lifestyle that I want. And I'll tell you something, Miss Holly in Portland, Oregon, my hometown. If you want to be scared, I'm not saying lay off the husband a little bit, but the 2 of you don't talk to each other. You've each given up dreams and sacrifices. This isn't all about you, Holly. You've each given up dreams and sacrifices to be able to have these 6 kids. So if you want scared, wait till he says, you know what? I'm really tired of you wearing the pants, and I'm out. Now you got a reason to be scared.
My mortgage payment is $4,500 a month, and we just bought this house in June, and the income has changed, and so I own my own business, so it's definitely it fluctuates, but I make between $4,000 to $6,000 a month, and then my husband has some income of $4,000 a month currently.
Oh. All right. I'm going to learn to eventually get my sound pauses and all of that in here too, because I'm a huge sound effects person, but we're just going for one thing at a time tonight, okay, on this new system of mine here with this new software. All right, guys, you know how I feel about self-employment, okay? Most people, it is my experience, cannot manage self-employment very well. So it says here mortgage is over 50%. So basically, if you take her self-employment income, that is her entire mortgage. You know, $4,500, if you've got the income to back it up, that's probably not really unreasonable. I mean, if you've got a really good income. But me thinks that they are of the age, I'm just going to take a guess because, you know, I'm hearing this for the first time with you guys. Me is thinking partly that perhaps they are of that age where they're not trying to buy their starter house. They want to start out instead in their dream house. And it's that dream house that will kick you in the butt every single time if that's the first house you're going in and you don't have the income. And it sounds as though she has a husband. They each make about $4,000, $4,500. But here's what I'm thinking. Self-employment, as we all know from listening to call after call, it is so unsteady. So I just shudder when I hear people say, oh, I'm self-employed, and then all of a sudden they have 50% of their income to rent. Because self-employment being what is, that money could be gone tomorrow. I mean, yes, obviously with a regular job, that can happen as well, you know, a W-2 job. But there's just something about self-employment. There's just more IRS problems than I care to shake a stick at. So clearly they're in debt.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at.
So on a really good month, your mortgage is still about 50%.
Ooh, mama.
If not more of your income.
Yeah, if not more, yeah.
They bought too much house. They knew they bought too much house before they got the house. And I'm willing to bet the way they landed a $4,500 a month mortgage is because her husband, if I'm correct, okay, she didn't mention that he was self-employed, but he had the steady income. Because I have a hard time believing that a self-employed person, even on $4,000 a month, could get a mortgage that's $4,500. And you got to think about in today's time period. So that $4,500 mortgage, you know, that's a huge markup, family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Wow.
you said the income changed. What was it before? Was it ever a good idea?
No.
Well, probably no.
People, you know what? You know how you know you're going to be late before you're late? You know you're going to be in debt before you're in debt. They bought their dream home. And because, that's it, this video is 6 days ago, so that means it probably wasn't even a dream home, okay? It's probably a house that should have sold for half the price, you know, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. They were trying to buy it all. Oh, good Lord.
That is probably not.
No, it's not probably. It was not. See, we say probably because it makes us feel better.
We own another house too. I don't know. How much do you want to know? But
I want to tell me the tea. Spill it. All of it.
So we moved and we had another home and we were trying to sell it. And apparently when we went into escrow and inspection and stuff, the foundation needed to be replaced. And that was like $140,000. So long story short, we still have that home.
Did you fix the foundation?
No.
No,
Okay.
we are working on that because it's $140,000. This has just been, anyway.
Okay, but when you know you're in that type of situation, you don't make your situation worse. They would have been better off. She said they moved. Then you know what they should have done? They should have been renters. That's what they should have done. They should not have gone out to try and buy a home. This is called they want it all. That's what they want. They don't want to make any sacrifices. So they have a house, I think she said $140,000 foundation repair. So yeah, you got to move. But why the bejesus would you go into a $4,500 mortgage? And I have a hard time believing, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not much of a homeowner. I mean, I own a little condo, okay? But I have a hard time believing they didn't know about the foundation repair before they bought this house. The new house that they're in right now, paying $4,500 a month mortgage on. I have a really difficult time believing they didn't know about the foundation problem. I mean, I could be wrong there, but the only reason I think I might be right is I would think for them to have gotten this ridiculous mortgage on a new house. I mean, it may be a used house, but you get what I'm saying. For their new house, I can't believe they would have gotten a mortgage on this house without knowing the condition of the other house and how much it might sell for. Or this could also be the case where, $8,000-9,000 a month take home pay sounds good. I'm assuming that that's their take home, their net, not their gross. It sounds good, but again, against the backdrop of two houses and one of them needs $140,000 foundation repair. People, this is how we sink ourselves, and it's so unnecessary.
So tell me, before you move on, so that house,
Yes.
what do you owe on it, and what's it worth, barring the fixed foundation?
So we owe about $650,000 on it, and it was being listed for 1.1 million, but with the foundation issue, all the buyers were scared to even take it. So with the rent, we make $1,400 profit a month.
Okay.
They're so overextended. Sorry about the banner. I told you I'm new at this little software, so you just got to bear with me here, okay? But I have to admit that ticker banner is handy, though. Okay, here is the thing: they are so overextended. This is where they have at current standing they have what is it called champagne taste, on a beer budget. They have no ability for self-control. And this is truly, in my opinion, how somebody can also wind up in bankruptcy. They're basically ignoring their financial obligations and assuming it's going to take care of itself. But clearly they realize it's not taking care of itself, because they're here on the Dave Ramsey show complaining about 50% of their income goes to this house. But that was avoidable. I would have at least had a little more respect if they'd said, hey, you know what? We just moved, and instead of buying a house that was going to put us into a $4,500 a month mortgage, we just decided that, until we get this first house sold with the $140,000 foundation repair, we thought it would just be best to be renters. But they didn't want to, in my opinion, succumb to renting, because me partly thinks that they think they're better than that. Because why else would you be in this type of financial situation?
Okay, yeah. Yes and no. You and I's definition of profit is different, because you've got a lot of money sunk into it. Okay.
So 100%.
Got it.
She's laughing. This has got to be the nervous laugh. Otherwise, I mean, seriously, she's laughing through this whole thing. This is how a school teacher living by herself can have more money than somebody in this situation.
Got it. So you've got this one house. If you fix the foundation, it's worth 1.1.
Yes.
But you haven't fixed it yet. Are you in the process of it, or tell me more about that?
So we applied for permits, and we're waiting on that. It can take up to 5 months. So we've just been working through that the last couple months.
How would you pay for it?
Exactly. I would have to pull out a HELOC, and that's the thing.
They have no money. They have no money in any of this. And I think we in general know what Ramsey thinks of HELOCs. He doesn't really care for them too much. Okay, to me, a HELOC, if I ever am going to use a HELOC, for the most part, it better be for something significant. All right, but to just pull it out because you've got this, because you're overextended, they don't have a way to pay for it. They have no way to, at least from what I can tell, to pay for the $140,000 foundation repair, because they've got this second piece of property. This is so avoidable. And on their income, here's the other kicker. On their income, should 140,000, it is a lot. Don't get me wrong. On my income, that's more than the condo that I live in. But if they are the money bags that they're trying to be, $140,000, well, it's a lot of money. It shouldn't necessarily be what breaks them, but it's breaking them because they can't stop spending new money while they're still taking care of obligations for old money that they've already spent.
It was just a nightmare. So
Okay. Have you done the research on if you were to sell it as is? I know you said certain realtors wouldn't touch it, but I'm sure certain realtors would.
Well,
what would that look like as far as the value?
We tried just to give it away for even $950.
That's not a giveaway. You're trying to sell it for like 1.1? No, that's not a giveaway, sweetheart. Who is this? This is Shannon in Phoenix, Arizona. No, that's not a giveaway. To me, a giveaway, you got to lower it, a few $100,000. No, they're still trying to make their profit. I respect that and I understand that. But me thinks, I don't know how long they've had this house. They're trying to make a ridiculous amount of profit over it.
And all the
that doesn't feel like a giveaway.
Yeah, that's not a giveaway. Well, we took off 100,000. No, you need to drop that sucker. You need to start talking. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a realtor expert, but I'd start going, come talk to me when you're down to like, I don't know, 700, 600. Now you're talking. Because you have to remember something, family. It's not just simply the foundation repair. What happens almost every time somebody goes in to fix one thing, they find something else. Now, I'm not saying that that's because they're crooked contractors or anything like that. We're leaving that part out. We're talking about the honest lot, okay? The honest group of people, okay? But you know that as soon as they open up, it's going to be, yep, you not only have a foundation problem, but we found a crack pipe over here, and you got a tree root problem going on over here. So whoever buys it needs to play it safe and say, okay, 140 is the starting point, but this could get up to much more than we could add on another 20, 30, 50,000 in repairs. Smart buyers are going to know this and they're going to expect that to be built into the house. So little Miss Shannon here in Phoenix, AZ, is trying to be skimpy and give just the absolute bare minimum. No, sweetheart, you're going to have to come up with a whole lot more generosity in what she considers to be a giveaway.
That's not a giveaway. Okay. That's you just less the value of getting it fixed.
Absolutely.
Well, we do owe about $150,000 in solar.
Okay, but that...
Everybody just hold. Screech. I gotta get that car sound effect in. Solar. She's... family, tomorrow's carnival day at school. Okay, it's fundraiser carnival day tomorrow. No, if you ever want to make yourself feel better, sometimes all you got to do is just watch these shows and all of a sudden your life gets fully into perspective. It really does. I told you, these people cannot delay their gratification and they're spending new money while hoping the old money problems will simply go away, or they can be chintzy and try to cheat some people out of what they consider to be, a giveaway.
That's not on the next buyer. You chose that, right?
Well, yeah, I just mean in order not to take
for you to not take the hit. Yeah.
Honey, you put the solar I can't believe we're having this discussion. What time is it? It's 10:30. Okay, listen. You put the freaking solar panels on the house. It's your responsibility. And by the way, just so you know, I saw this on a news report, okay? So, little public service announcement. If you live in an HOA association like I do, okay? I live where all the grounds and stuff are taken care of. But there are obviously a lot of HOAs where you have individual houses. And this is just something that I watched on a news report not too long ago. If you put solar on your house, even if it's allowed by an HOA, okay, that there are some HOAs, you got to read the fine print and make sure that you are not required to take the solar panels off and restore the roof to its natural state, okay, pre-solar panel state before you sell it. Now then, Shannon here, the caller, I'm telling you, it's greed. She is trying, she doesn't want to lower, now explains it. She doesn't want to lower the house too much because she's trying to get the new owners to pay for the solar panels too. So she says 140, let's just round off to 150 in solar panels. We got another 150 or so in foundation. We're up to $300,000. And if she thinks the new owners are going to pay for the solar panels, they're not the ones who signed the bill for that. So I don't think the new owners are going to allow you to put the solar panels as part of the mortgage. I wouldn't accept it. I don't know why people even get solar panels in the first place. I will never understand that. Somebody make it make sense. I will never understand why people pay for solar panels. And I've said it before. The only people that should have solar panels is the city, state government, okay? And they put them across walk signs in school zones. Like my school zone, you know, the automatic walk signs and stuff, they're run by solar panels. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think you might end up like eating a big loss on this house. You might. I mean, if you can carry it and get this foundation fixed in cash, then I would not take out more debt.
They can't fix the foundation in cash, in my opinion, mathematically, based on their income. Not without having to go into maybe retirement accounts, 401ks, annuities, whatever, and break those. And we all know what the Ramseys think of that. And I don't think we should do it either. But, I mean, it happens. But she's going to try really, really hard to see if she can't get out of this mess that she's made. And I don't see how they can do it.
Fix this house. So there's that.
Can I ask really quick, how far away are these two houses? The one you're living in now versus the one... How far?
A state away.
Oh, boy.
6 hours.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
And you said there's also 150 in solar. That's a separate loan.
I thought she said 140, Jade.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're state away.
And you moved to where you are now because of your husband's job or your business?
Originally it was my husband's job. He's been in the military forever, so we moved here, and anyway, we're staying here. At this point.
This move was not planned. This move was not financially planned. It was not financially budgeted in any way, shape, and form. This is like people who just said, you know what? We're packing up and leaving, and we hope that all the trash that we had behind us will somehow or another disappear with the sale of the house. That's what they were hoping for. It didn't quite work out that way.
So Shannon,
we shouldn't have bought this house, but
tell me about your current house, because this may be your way out of all of this. Your current house, what do you owe on it, and what's it worth?
So we bought it for $460,000.
Mm-hmm.
$460,000, and when I just called a realtor, I got a Dave Ramsey realtor, and she told me, because we bought it just in June, that we'd probably, with closing costs and everything, probably take about a $30,000 loss.
Yeah. Okay.
This couple loves losing money.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, she's like, I don't know, based on it, yeah. So
that's not an option. Like, selling that for profit's not an option for you right now, which I wondered if it would be. Yeah, if I were you.
Well, what is rent? What if you guys were renting in your area right now? What would that set you back?
Yeah, so rent here is amazing. Well, relative. So we could get a rent, the same equivalent home for maybe $2,000 or $2,200 a month at the most.
Okay, but here's what people don't consider about renting. Okay, and I know people go renting, throwing away your money, yada, yada. Okay, we know that. I mean, we've heard that. They are not in a position to buy a home because it's not just the quote-unquote rent that they have to pay for. She said for a couple $1,000 a month. She's going, well, we are paying what we would pay in rent. But here's the thing. Being a homeowner, and I know Arizona pretty well because the Arizona market is very similar to Tampa. Okay, if not even more expensive than Tampa. I mean, it is Phoenix area, okay? Here's the thing. You got property tax increases to deal with. You have the maintenance of the home to deal with. It's not just a straight You can't. I can't. What is it? I think at times people think that renting and owning a home are equal. They're not, because there are things that you have to deal with as homeowner, and she should know, because right now she's dealing with the $140,000 foundation, and then this, not to mention the stupid solar panels that she put on. But that was a choice. The foundation, a little bit more forgivable, sort of, kind of, perhaps. Okay, because I mean that's just wear and tear. But the solar panels was just pure stupidity. So this is how they think. Really, she never wanted to be a renter, because logically, and I'm happy to say that I said it before Jade and Jade and Ken said it. They should have been renters. Waited till that house was sold. All the foundation, solar panel, all that stuff taken care of. Then the profit that they made from that would have been used to obviously then get their next house. But they didn't want to wait. It's kind of like people who say things like, well, I just had to, let go of the car that I had that was paid off. No, let's go even worse. No, let's not take the car that was paid off. Because at least that's commendable. I just had to let go of the car that I'm already making payments on because it's just not fitting me. I'm going to get another car, and I'm just going to roll that car that I still owe a payment on into the other car. That's all they've done. They've rolled one house into another house.
My fiance and I, my fiance wants to move. We currently live on her parents' property in a back house while we're paying off our debt. And when we get taxes in, she'd like to pay off one of the loans, but then move. And from all the numbers I've touched, it's like I'm trying to not break her heart, but tell her that we might need to stay longer until we pay off all of our debts before we add another bill.
Expense. Yeah. Why does she want to move?
It's always, we're getting a bit older, just to get away from, parents. Nothing wrong with parents. It's just something we want to move to a bigger place for the kids.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay. I'm hearing this for the first time with you guys. So happy Tuesday. So this is his fiance, and they have kids. So assuming they're his kids, these are not step kids, although it wouldn't matter. Okay, I'm just going to assume it's their kids. Perhaps now's not the time to be questioning if you really see money the same way. As we know, one of the greatest causes of divorce is differences in money. So the title of this is something about how do I tell my fiance we can't afford to move? So my thinking, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but my hope is that this is something that she can emotionally handle. See, this is why sometimes it's better to wait till I'm not going to preach to people how to lead their life. Okay, Lord knows I've made my mistakes, but sometimes it's better to have this type of discussion before you bring the kids into the picture, because it seems a little bit backwards. He says kids, so I'm thinking plural here. Seems a little backwards to have the kids first and then decide, hey, now's the time for us to discuss if we're really on the same page about money.
So it's more out of a desire, not a necessity. It's not like something is going awry relationally and it's like, we got to get out of here for the health of our family. There's not an urgency to it necessarily. It's just a deep desire of I want to be on my own.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
How many kids do they have?
So how much extra do you guys have a month if you were to try to say, okay, yeah, here's what we would probably rent for. Have you guys put that into a budget just to see what that looks like?
Paying off the loans still, if we were to move, instead of paying off the loans, I'd be negative $350 every month.
How much are the loans?
I've got 3 loans that all average about $2,500.
$2,500. Okay.
Well, the debt's not too bad. 2, 4, 6, $7,500 total. The debt, believe it or not, if they're working, I'm assuming they're working. Okay, $7,500 is not an unreasonable amount of debt for them to get out of. I would tell them to stay right where they're at with their parents. Sometimes you have to be willing to stay a little bit longer, even though the situation is not, really desirable. But if it's something that you can live with, for the long-term picture. I think most of us who have seen ourselves finally to, financial freedom and stuff, we recognize that. I remember I was in my early 20s. Okay, true story. I rented a room from this lady. She was looking for a daughter because her older daughter had moved out. I was not in the mental, psychological health to be anybody's kid. Okay. And so it was kind of it was a turbulent relationship, not, like physically or anything, but just, she really wanted a daughter. I didn't want to be her daughter. I just wanted to be a tenant. And I remember my mom would say to me, look, and the situation was totally safe. Okay. She lived in a cute little neighborhood. I'd probably be friends with her today, in all honesty. Okay. She was about 20 years older than I was and stuff at the time when I was in my 20s. But I remember my mom would just say, look, you know what you're going to do? You're going to count down how many months it's going to take for you to save to get into your own apartment. She goes, and I want you just to stay there. And like I said, I was totally safe. It was just kind of like these people here. I just like to get out. Okay. But whenever you room with somebody that you really don't get along with, it does make it stressful, even though it doesn't mean you're not safe. Okay. And I literally would put on a calendar. Okay, here's how many months it's going to take me to save up to get my own place. And I tell you, I did it. But sometimes you just have to be willing to stay the course. $7,500, stay the course. I would tell them not to move.
Okay.
Yes.
And what are you paying right now to live in this other property that your parents have?
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. How much are you guys paying? Are you paying anything, or are they letting you live there for free?
Pretty much free. I just pay the electric bill.
Okay. How much do you make a year, Joseph? You and your wife combined?
My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and this year I made $44,000.
$44,000. Okay. Because I was going to say, I mean, you have $8,000 of debt. It's not.
Yeah.
Whoa. Halt. He makes $44,000, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and he said they have plural kids. Am I missing something? Was I late to the party? That means between the two of them, he says they make $44,000. Between the two, they each make $22,000 respectively, and they've got kids, and this is before taxes. Amazes me how the ladies on this show sometimes they just gloss over it, like, okay, no, stop, do the math. They make $22,000 a year each, and they have kids, and she doesn't work. What happens if he loses his job? No, they definitely need to stay the course now. Sometimes I feel like, God bless, Jade and Rachel, but sometimes they just gloss over these things, and I'm going, wait, everybody just wait.
Well, were you paying off other debt before this, and this is just what's left? Or
this is what's left.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so when do you think, like, based off of the progress you've been making, how quickly can you have this $7,500 paid off?
I mean, I could pay off one loan, and that loan, that's $400 a month.
That's not a payoff. That's just transferring debt. Taking a loan to pay off another bill is not paying anything off. And if their lifestyle, okay, I'm telling you, this really changes things, knowing she's a stay-at-home mom. She can't afford to be a stay-at-home mom. She can't. Maybe she could afford it living with the parents who don't charge them anything. But with what rent prices and economy and all of that stuff is right now, that changes the picture drastically if they move out. So if they're going in la land thinking, oh, we're going to have the same, financial lifestyle living and doing this on our own as we have living at home, they're kidding themselves. I gross 70, drop my pay down to 44,000, give me a spouse who doesn't work. I'm going to assume they have 2 kids because he said kids, okay? And a couple of kids, I'm flat broke. So I'm really surprised they're not looking at this a bit more critically.
I can put towards other loans. It's like paying off one, but it's times the hard variable. So it's I could pay off the biggest and then pay off the other ones.
Well, you want to move smallest to largest. Like, that's the way that we would teach you to do it. But even doing that, how quickly do you think you'd be through the whole $7,500?
Within the next 6 months.
And he'll be right back in debt as soon as they move out, and reality smacks them in the face about she really can't afford to be a stay-at-home mom. I mean, just do the rent alone, just the rent. Because I'm assuming they've been able to live somewhat in the lap of luxury because they've been able to live with their parents. So everything's been paid for.
6 months. Okay. Yeah. So that gives you adequate time to start doing your research and seeing what it would look like to rent. Like Rachel said, you're throwing it in a budget. You're kind of running the numbers and getting used to what that idea would feel like.
Is it just me? Is it just me? Let's do the numbers on the rent. If this is $44,000 gross, which I'm assuming it is, okay, just the rent alone for a family of 4 could be $2,000 a month in anywhere USA. Yeah, I understand you might get lucky and get a break somewhere and get it for cheaper, but let's just figure rent, electric, rent, utilities, couple grand a month. I've made $44,000. I'm sure many of you have made $44,000. I don't know. I feel like this is being glossed over. Like, oh yeah, this is great. You know, she's a stay-at-home mom and all that. You couldn't curse me with that. I'm sorry. I do not want to make $44,000 and support a family of 4, and that's assuming they only have 2 kids.
And by the time this debt is gone, it's going to be, you packing up that.
Yeah. I mean, how many kids do you guys have?
3.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I stand my case. The ladies here will have totally dropped the ball on this evening. Just my opinion. And this just ran about 6 days ago or so. They have completely dropped the ball on this. So we are now a family of 5 on $44,000. And because she doesn't work. All right.
How many?
3.
3. Okay. Because Joseph, I would say, what do you do for a career?
Warehouse management.
Okay. Because 44 grand, with a family of 5
before taxes,
I mean, yeah, you guys are running on a tight ship. And so.
No, it's not a type ship. Ship. It's a sinking ship. Absolutely sinking ship. I'm floored. I'm floored that it took them this long in the call to put these pieces together on this. Sometimes the expectations, I don't know. It's hard to tell, but sometimes I listen to them and I think to myself, are you guys totally nuts? Have you missed it? And I really think in this case, they missed the seriousness of this. It's being so casually discussed. How many of you in the audience right now, okay, would love to make $44,000 a year to support your family of 5? Exactly. Probably not too many takers.
So I'm going to say as the kids get older and as you guys start looking, because eventually, yes, the goal is to own your own place one day.
They ain't going to do it on the income they've got, not without some parental help.
It's either going to take, it's going to take longer, right? On a $44,000 salary.
Yeah.
Or
it's never going to happen. Look, let's take a look at the market as it is. How many people are making $60,000-$70,000 a year? And this is, I can't tell where this call is. Let me put up my bifocals. What's LA? Louisiana. Lafayette, Louisiana. Geez, I hope I know my states. I'm not really embarrass myself if I don't. Okay, so this is Joseph in Lafayette, LA. Can't be because Los Angeles is California. Hey, I'm a writing instructor. Okay, I'm not geography. I think this is Louisiana, LA. Okay, so I don't know what the home prices are out there, but if it's like anywhere, I'm sorry, you've got people who are making 50, 60, 70,000 on their own income. Okay, I make 70. I can't afford a home here in Tampa, not at today's market rate. I could have 5 years ago if I wanted one, but I didn't want to own a home by myself. But we're kind of leading him on to believe that he's going to be able to do all this on 44,000 without significant help from someone else.
Or if she decides to pick up some work and do something from home to bring in, I mean, even $1,000 a month or something to help kind of speed this up as well. Right. I mean, I think that's what's always, difficult in a situation is, we are all for stay-at-home moms. Like that is not a slam against her. I mean, I think that is incredible, absolutely incredible. But when you make one choice there, then other choices, so she has to understand too that there's a reality of what you guys make every year and what you bring in a month. And there's a reality of what you can afford. So either if, and I don't want you working 80 hours a week to be able to own a home, right?
He's going to have to work 80 hours a week to the lovely Miss Rachel. Yeah, he's going to have to. I don't even think 80 hours a week's going to give him enough to get into a home. I'm thinking that's just going to be what he needs just to support his family. Because she doesn't work. She's going to have to work. If they even want a prayer of having a house, she's going to have to do it. One dude, I mean, seriously, if this guy can make on $44,000 a year to support a family of 5 and save whatever the tens of thousands of dollars is that he's going to need for a down payment, he needs to write a book.
I mean, there's a reality too to your time and enjoyment of life, but that's a reality she needs to realize. So even though I know she doesn't like being there, there's a math issue here too.
How old are the kids?
6, 7, and 2.
Buddy, you have made your bed right now. Nothing wrong with the children. We're not slamming the kids in any way. But to the parents, the adults, you've made your reality. 6, 7, and 2. So just, yeah, you're not getting a house anytime soon. She needs to go back to work. And was it Rachel who was saying, she needs to go back also, that she may not want to? Well, this should have been discussed then before they had possibly the 2-year-old. Kind of reminds me of that video that we did just the other day. Remember family? And what was it? It was 5 kids and 6th kid was on the way and they're just all upset that they don't have the money that they need. These decisions, these discussions have to take place before you have fun in the sun and then go, oh, I guess now we should discuss the budget. Basically, their budget is sunk right this moment. It is. And when they move out and he gets them all clear to that $7,500, that was assisted by them living with their parents and assuming the parents aren't going to continue paying assistance and they're going to do this on their own, they're going to be back in debt in no time. Guaranteed. They'll be one of those people using Klarna, paying for a meal.
So is she doing the homeschool thing, or are 2 of them already in kindergarten?
And yeah.
Homeschool. Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Homeschool, there ain't much to homeschool at 6, 7. I mean, there's a little, go through the alphabet, the colors and all that, but we're not into the serious schooling yet. I mean, I respect homeschooling. I mean, that's great and stuff, But when your husband makes $44,000, like I said, you got to take the income and you got to divide it over them. $22,000 each, just like each of them is working, say, I don't know, a fast food job. That's basically what we have here. 2 fast food workers, possibly in managerial. 2 managerial level fast food workers. And has he really had discussion with her about her having to go back to work? See, again, these are discussions that should occur before the children come along. Like, Hetty, you do know if we have 3 kids, you're going to have to go back to work, especially if we're shooting for a house. In other words, they can continue the way they are and simply just survive, because they can do that. They can struggle to survive. But if they actually want to get ahead, they're going to have to do a whole lot more.
Which is great. So I think that, and you guys do a budget together. I mean, I'm assuming she sees all these numbers.
We just started.
Okay.
I just discovered the Ramsey solution
Okay.
2-3 months ago.
Oh, awesome. Well, you guys made great progress. Well done.
Well, it's easy to open up an app, which, by the way, I've used the app before and it's pretty cool. It's easy to open up the app together. But years later, will you still be together on the same page, or are you going to be the one calling into Dave Ramsey going, we had 3 kids. I was working, as a warehouse manager making $44,000 a year. My wife never, wanted to desire going back to work, and she's refused to. And now we can't save for retirement. We have no money and we're in our 50s and I'm scared. And then that's when John steps in.